confirmation from Ventura County Supervisor Vianney Lopez. Are you with us?
Yes. Hi, this is Vianney.
Oh, we appreciate your time here this afternoon. We are trying to confirm whether people are being detained. If so, how many? What can you tell us?
Yes, thank you so much, and appreciate your coverage, you being on the ground. I've been watching from your live stream. I've been watching and hearing from people on the ground. I don't have an official confirmation of how many people have been taken, but it is my understanding that there were about 2 large vans with about 12 to 15 people that were removed. But that's an unofficial confirmation that came from community organizers and leaders that are on the ground watching, trying to be there for our community here in Ventura County.
You know, as Ventura County, you know this better than anybody here. We have a lot of farm workers who work in this area. How are you training these people? I mean, what do you want them to know right now that this is going on? This is such an active scene.
It is absolutely infuriating to watch this, to know that families are being separated, that families are being torn apart, that people, hard-working people, are the targets of an unjust system when they are just trying to make a living. And I just hope that our community out there is able to demonstrate, is able to protest peacefully, but is able to come together, and we need to show up for those being impacted, for these families that are being separated, for all our immigrant community, our undocumented community that is still here, who are at harm. They are potential targets. Unfortunately, I wish I could say that this would be the end of the action and the activity out here, but I'm afraid that this isn't, that it is just going to continue, and we need to be there to support those who are most vulnerable right now.
You know, while I got you, I wanted to clear something up. We had a volunteer on with us not too long ago, and she made an accusation against the Sheriff's Department out there. And I just want to make it clear that generally, Ventura County's Sheriff's Department does not participate in immigration enforcement operations. So can you just reiterate to our viewers exactly what their role is when situations like this unfold?
In a situation like this, the sheriff, if they are responding, I have not heard of the sheriff or local law enforcement showing up, responding to the situation. If they were to show up, they would be there to maintain a safe space between these federal officials and the general public. But I have not heard of the sheriff being out there, at least in the last hour. If there is a concern for safety and someone calls 911 or calls a dispatch for assistance, and they would come out to provide that safety response for everyone present. We want to make sure that everyone is safe.
All right, Ms. Lopez, we thank you very much for your time. We will be touching base with you throughout here. But now we want to turn things over to NBC4's Conan Nolan. He's been following this situation also from the newsroom. Conan, your thoughts on this? You know this as well. So many farm workers out there. And now the target, we've heard one of the volunteers say that this has been going on many times already, these raids in those areas.
Right. Here's what ICE will say. And they've said this before, is that they have a lawful detainer against one individual and they track them down. They're actually trying to, they would argue, surgically remove that person. But if they find anybody else who's around there, who's in the country without authorization, they get pulled into the sweep. So that's the comment we expect them to make about this, that it's not that in reality it is a sweep, but their argument will be that we went there for an individual that we know, and I'm not sure what exactly the detainer is or whether there's any individual who has some kind of tie to the judicial system, but that's what they've said in the past. What's remarkable about what we're seeing in Camarillo is the fact that this goes to a complete, what appears to be a complete disconnect between what is happening on the ground here and what is coming out of the Oval Office in Washington. The president just the other day said, you know, we should carve out a place for those people who work in agriculture, fundamental to the American economy, certainly a $60 billion industry in the California economy. The San Joaquin Valley and places like Ventura County help feed the nation, feed the world, and that we shouldn't go into the farm fields. He actually used those terms. We shouldn't go into the farm fields and yank them out. He also suggested a carve-out for those who work in hospitality, in restaurants and hotels. Remember, Donald Trump knows all about workers in hotels. He's got a few himself. He's said that on multiple occasions. At one time on July 3rd, he gave a speech that he used the word amnesty. Amnesty. Oh my goodness, that word, you never hear any Republican, even Democrat, use the word amnesty, because that's an anathema in the political culture and in polling. Then he walked that back the other day. So the question is the president's view of this, is this strictly designed for public opinion? He says on several occasions, we're going to do something soon. That is maybe an executive order that defers any action to the people you are looking at right now, and that is farm workers. Or is he actually planning on doing that while at the same time the people on the field here running Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they're not listening to that. They're listening to Stephen Miller, the former Santa Monica student who went on to the higher echelons of the Trump administration and is the point person on immigration, who we understand has a quota for the number of people who have to be rounded up every day. And Immigration and Customs Enforcement and DHS is responding to that. So it's terribly confusing. The New York Times has a piece today about the California Central Valley. And the kind of disruption that we're seeing there is exactly what we're seeing here. Farm workers are not showing up, and as a result, crops are rotting in the farm fields. That's going to have a detrimental effect not just on the production of food, but on the economy of the agricultural industry. And it's not just here. It's in red farm states in Indiana and Iowa. It's happening there as well. So it adds to the confusion. What is the goal here? What does the president say? And even the vice president, J.D. Vance, he was asked about this the other day when he was in Los Angeles. He said, by the way, the president said that maybe there's some undocumented immigrants who should not be forced out of the country, not be rounded up. And his response was something the president didn't say. His response said, oh, well, we have limited enforcement, so we're going after the worst of the worst, but everybody who's in the country without authorization, get ready to pack up. You're going to be taken out of the country. That's not what the president said. He said that there's some people, including these folks, who should not be touched. So it's a question as to who's running the operation.
All right, Conan, we're going to keep you on standby there live up on our newsroom. We want to bring on now Michelle Gonzalez. Michelle, you're with us? Hello, Michelle.
Up and support and helping out some of these workers.
Hello?
Yeah, Michelle. Hi, it's Michael Brownlee and Annabelle Sedano with NBC4. Are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, glad that you're with us here this afternoon. Your mother, from what you're telling us, has been detained?
Yes, she has.
Okay, what can you tell us about the moments before and the moments leading up to it?
Some Republicans, not the majority, but some, and talking about how...
Before I got a call around 10 something, my mother called me telling me that ICE was inside the workshop, and the ICE agent said the security guard to go inside. Wouldn't show the search warrant at all. And we were just left on a cliffhanger from then.
Figure out how...
And a couple of minutes ago, I got a call saying that she has been detained.
Be carried out.
And we
Okay.
have not heard anything else.
If you could you, we're picking up some feedback. It sounds like there's a television on the background. Would you mind turning the volume down on that so we can hear you a little more clearly?
Yeah.
Okay, we appreciate that. So, Michelle, you're telling us that you got a call just after 10 o'clock this morning from your mother telling you that ICE was inside the workshop there at this field in Camarillo.
Yes.
Okay, so you just received another call. Was it another call from your mother? Was it another call from someone there on scene that your mother's been detained? And where?
Yeah.
What about her whereabouts now? Has she been moved to another location? Is she still here at the workshop?
We currently do not know because after she called us, letting us know that she has been detained, there hasn't been no phone call back.
Michelle, because of your mom's situation here, have you guys talked about this? I mean, have you guys run through the what ifs? If I get detained, this is what's going to happen. I'm just wondering if you guys have had that conversation at your house.
We have.
What came out of it? What's the game plan here?
The game plan at the moment is contact the lawyer and see what are our options.
Do you have any other siblings? Is your dad in the picture as well?
Yeah, I have other siblings, and I prefer not to talk about my dad.
Okay. All right. So, Michelle, with you still not knowing, what do you plan to do now? As far as your mom, she called you to let you know that ICE was there and that she was detained. What do you plan on doing now?
Right now, we're searching lawyers and hoping that one of them answers so we could move forward.
All right, Michelle, we thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it, and we do hope everything works out for you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to toss things back up to Julia Ding live at News Chopper 4. Julia, we see some activity here with agents here now onto a truck moving into a particular area.
That's right, Michael. You see these federal agents coming out of that white truck on the right-hand side of my screen, and then there's another vehicle here on the left. It looks like they're walking into this building, this facility I mentioned earlier, where we do believe people are being held right now, people who may have been detained as part of this operation. And again, this is just one group of federal agents currently on scene still. The other group that we have been zooming in on, the group that's been clashing at times with this growing group of volunteers, they are still here on Laguna Road. It is calm right now. We haven't seen additional rounds of tear gas or flashbangs being deployed. But you see this group and how close the volunteers are getting. So as they get more anxious here, I think the word I heard used earlier by Daniel was frantic. You know, that appears to be the atmosphere here. People definitely are frantic. And I think as these tensions escalate, we could see additional flare-ups, additional face-offs here.
You know, Julia, we heard from Ventura County Supervisor Ventura Lopez, who said that there were two large vans with 12 to 15 people inside. I could only imagine if we can, as we look at this, perhaps swing back over to what we believe is the workshop where those agents are. Do you see at the site of two vans, two white vans? And again, we're hearing from the supervisor, 12 to 15 people detained.
I would guess, Michael, this van out front is one of them. We did not actually see people being loaded into this van. I don't see a second one from our vantage point right now in News Chopper 4. But let me widen out here and we can look together. You know, this is a very fluid scene. Vehicles are on the move. People are on the move. What I did see was people being marched into this building. We haven't seen them coming out through the door they walked into, and we haven't seen anybody being loaded into vehicles. But this white van parked out front right now, it has been here for as long as we have. And I would guess this is one of those two vans you're talking about.
Okay, Julia, we're going to hang with your picture here. We're going to go back into our newsroom as promised. That we kept Conan Nolan live on standby, and we appreciate it, Conan. Conan, I want to get back to you if we can. You know, we talk about the back and forth of this carve-out with the president and the administration, leaving agricultural workers and hotel workers alone, causing a lot of confusion. At some point in time, do you believe that something definitive is going to come down? And if so, wouldn't that rock his MAGA base?
Good question. The polling seems to show that the president, who has done very well on immigration, regardless of any other issue, including the tariffs, is starting to see those numbers go soft dramatically because, again, the narrative has been, up until this point, certainly the worst of the worst, going after those in the country illegally who have been involved in spousal abuse or human trafficking, drug trafficking, that kind of thing. Nobody wants them in the country. Democrats support that, and the president got a lot of goodwill from both parties and individuals across the country saying, yeah, they actually prey on the undocumented more than they prey on anybody else. But then that has moved on to the kind of thing that we're seeing here. And so when you start to see the father of 3 U.S. Marines, that's certainly a case that we saw most recently, that starts to eat at what people believe is the essential nature of the American dream and of who we are as a country. So his numbers are polling south. And then you have, again, the issue of the agricultural base, the MAGA base. A lot of the farmers in Ventura County voted for Donald Trump. Farmers. A lot of the farmers in the Central Valley voted for Donald Trump. I've been reading that one group of one cooperative of some 500 farmers in the San Joaquin Valley are now telling the farm workers, take off your hat and take off a bandana once you leave the field. Remember, ICE needs a warrant to actually get on the private property in order for them to make an arrest. But once they leave the field, they can intercept or take someone in. So the farmers are telling farm workers, don't look like a farm worker when you leave. Make sure your registration on your license plate is up to date. We don't want to give them a reason to stop you. Don't travel with anybody other than those who you know, because you don't want somebody in your car who may have an ICE warrant out for them for having committed some kind of crime or misdemeanor or felony, whatever it is. So, and those farmers, again, are furious because if the plums, if the avocados, if the walnuts, the 40 different crops that the state of California leads the country in growing, if that rots on the vine, this industry actually tanks. People lose their livelihood and their farms, and that's what apparently the president is hearing. But then we hear that the very same Secretary of Agriculture who told the president, you know what, you got to carve them out, she came out and said there's no amnesty. Made some reference to possibly those who receive Medicaid now and need now that there's a work requirement, will end up in the farm fields harvesting produce. That's not happening. So, yeah, again, this is going to go national. We're going to see more of this, and it's going to end up, once again, the president's going to be asked about it. And he says, well, we love our farmers. We're going to do everything we can, maybe make a list. That's what he said the other day. Maybe a list, didn't call it amnesty, but a list of those who are protected because they're good workers. But so far, we haven't seen anything like that. And as a result, these ICE raids continued in the farm fields of the Central Valley and Ventura County.
You know, Conan, and as you're talking, we're getting a closer look here at some of those workers that are being detained, that are being held up here. I counted around 20 or so. But again, you've been watching breaking news here out of Camarillo. A large number of federal agents at a tomato farm. Protesters gathered where we will, of course,
have more later today on the NBC4 News at 3.